Investing today has never been easier. With countless apps and platforms available, all we need is a smartphone or a computer to invest in financial instruments like stocks, ETFs, and cryptocurrencies. Most of these platforms provide us with summary tables and reports on our investments. However, their reports can be too basic and do not offer further insights. It's also becoming more common to use more than one platform to invest. For example, one for stocks and another one for cryptocurrencies. This investment portfolio tracker is a tool that lets us combine all our investments from different platforms. It shows us real-time insights like total performance, top and worst performers, asset class breakdown, and more stats. It has a section to change all the investments to a desired currency. This is for consistency purposes, as there might be some investors who invest in multiple currencies. There's a classic trendy chart for a quick stock screener, and if we scroll down, we can see a section with a platform breakdown that reveals how our money is being distributed across platforms. To get an enhanced view of the individual investments, we can go to the Portfolio tab. It shows us an in-depth table summarizing the live performance and relevant information on each investment. So how does the tool capture all of this information? Well, from the Transactions tab. Here we enter the data of our investments. For demo purposes, I've populated this tab with hypothetical transactions using platforms from multiple countries, so we can see how anyone in the world could use this tool to track their trades. We can add transactions for when we deposit money, buy or sell, dividends, dividend reinvestment, stock splits, and even money withdrawals from accounts. Everything in one single place to stay organized and become an audit pro. Let's enter new transactions so you can see how the rest of the tracker automatically captures new information. I love space, and it's an industry that has the potential to skyrocket to the final frontier. So let's say we want to buy this US-based stock called Astra Space. So we enter the platform we're using, the currency the platform uses, the date of purchase, the ticker of the security, in this case ASTR, the asset class, the action, so in this case we're buying a stock, the quantity or number of shares, the price we bought it for, and any brokerage fees, in this case 0. If we go to the Portfolio tab, we can see how the ASTR investment has been automatically added, showing all the relevant information from initial costs to current live price and performance. When we go to the Dashboard tab, we can see how the charts have added ASTR automatically. When we scroll down, we can see how the platform we used has a lower cash balance than before and a higher value because we just bought almost $1,000 worth of stock. And that is it. We've entered our required data and the rest of the tracker is fully automated, showing us beautiful results. This tracker includes a simple script that implements the first in and first out method, or FIFO method, when buying and selling stocks. Shout out to RJ Scripts and Think Stocks for contributing and sharing it with everyone. We could even connect this tracker to other trackers. If we go to the ETF portfolio tracker I previously released, we could use the import range function in the dashboard to connect it to the investment portfolio tracker. This way we can get live results of our total investment portfolio value. If you would like to download this ready-to-use tracker in light, dark, and cyberpunk theme, make sure to visit my Patreon, which is linked in the description of this video. Now, let's learn how to build this tracker from the beginning. Alright, so we're gonna go to Google and search Google Sheets, and we're gonna click on the first result, and go to Google Sheets. So I want to start off a blank new spreadsheet, and I'm gonna call it Planet Finance Investment Portfolio Tracker. So we're going to start off with the Transactions tab. We're going to name this one Portfolio. So first off, I'm going to write down all the titles. So I'm going to paste some data that I already have. The first thing we want to do is add data validation to the asset class. So we're going to select all the rows to the bottom, go to Data, Data Validation, List of Items, and we can write all the asset classes that we want to choose. And we're going to click Save. Now when we click the arrow, we get the list of all the asset classes that we can choose from. Next is the action, so we're going to do the same. We're going to select everything all the way to the bottom, go to Data, Data Validation, and write down the list of items we want. Now we're going to work on the total column. I'm going to be sharing all the formulas with you in the description. So at the moment I'm just pasting it, but you'll be able to access these formulas for free. So we're going to copy that, go left, all the way to the bottom, right again, Control Shift or Command Shift, up arrow, and then click Control or Command and enter. Later we'll also format everything, but at the moment I just want to build the skeleton so all the formulas are connected. We're going to go to the Portfolio tab now and start writing the titles for the investment portfolio. We're going to leave it like this at the moment, because first we need to write down the script so that these 3 columns can fill up automatically. So what we're going to do is go to Tools, Script Editor, and it's going to take us to a page where we can add a new script. So here we have an untitled project, FIFO Script. You can also rename it here, and we're going to delete all these lines. Then we're going to go to GitHub or GitHub, however you want to pronounce it. I've provided the link in the description of this video together with the formula sheet. So we're going to go to this website and we're going to select and copy this whole script all the way to line 132. Copy it, go back to the script editor and paste it here. All we do now is save project and then click run. Once the execution is completed, we can close this window and go back to the tracker. So now we're going to test if it works by writing the following formula. As you can see, we wrote down the following formula and it is capturing all the information we wanted. We got the ticker, the number of shares, and the average purchase price. This is grabbing the data from the transactions that we entered. So now we can continue working on the rest of the formulas. Most of the formulas that we're going to use here are a combination of Google Finance and a website called Coin Market, in case we add any cryptocurrencies that are not in the Google Finance function. So we're going to write down the following formula. As I mentioned previously, all these formulas are going to be available for free, so you can just copy and paste them in the required cells. I'm going to scroll down and go to line 76, select it, Control Shift down or Command Shift down, right click and delete them. I don't think most people are going to be buying more than 75 different assets. What you have to do now is click and drag the formula to the bottom. We're going to merge these 2 cells and write down the following formula. This creates a beautiful trendy chart. As you can see, the current price of Dogecoin shows a hash, and the reason for this is because 014 is still empty. And actually I just realized that I missed one more column, so I'm just going to quickly add it. That is the dollar value of gain and loss. So all we have to do is go to the row where Dogecoin is, or any other currency that we buy, and we just write Dogecoin, and all we have to do is just quickly change this to O again. It changed because I added a new column. Whenever you copy it, it'll be fine. It's just it has to be in column O, and you can see now how the formula is capturing the name Dogecoin and getting the current price. Now we're going to fill up the rest of the formulas. So here we're calculating the performance of our stocks by looking at the amount of shares we bought, the average purchase price, and then figuring out the cost, the current value based on the current price, and the gain and loss that we currently have. And these last 2 formulas are simply doing a VLOOKUP, or in this case I used index and match, which is the same thing, with a transactions tab, just so that we can get the platform and the asset class for our purchases. I think it's pretty cool to just show it there. And thanks to these 2 columns, we're going to be able to create some pretty groovy charts, such as the platform breakdown and then the asset class breakdown. Alright, so that is the portfolio tab. Now we're going to add one more tab to the tracker, and we're going to call it the currency converter. This tab is going to be essentially a duplicate of the portfolio, but we're going to write some pretty complicated formulas so that it changes to the desired currency that we choose from the dashboard, just like you saw in the demo. So what we're going to do is copy the same titles and paste them here. However, we're going to add one more to the left, and we're going to call it currency. And we're going to write down the following formulas. We're going to go to line 75 and delete the rest. So all we're doing here with ticker and shares is linking them to the portfolio. And here's where the formulas get pretty complicated. It looks very long at the moment, and that's because Google Sheets has a problem with British pounds, so we have to essentially write down a single formula for that, and then another formula for the rest of the currencies. We do the same with the rest of the columns. They're all linking to a currency converter. Okay, and that's it for the currency converter tab. Now we're gonna add the last tab and call it the dashboard. And as you can see right now, here's where we're entering the currency, but I actually don't want to enter it from the currency converter. I prefer to do it directly from the dashboard because that's the first tab I open. And I'm going to link it to L1. Here's where I want to choose my currency from. At the moment it's empty, but I'm just going to write USD here so we can see that everything's being converted to USD. To get a drop down list of the currencies that we can use, we're going to click L1, then go to data validation, go to currency converter, and select A3 all the way to the bottom. So now in portfolio, we can see all the currencies that we can choose based on the transactions that we've been entering. So now in the dashboard tab, we're going to start summarizing all our investments, entering interesting stats, and creating the graphs and the charts. Let's start with the screener. So this is going to look at the stock that we're screening, and it's going to tell us the currency that it uses. We're going to merge all of these and create a trendy chart here. For this stock screener, I just chose a few attributes. I like to see the PE ratio, the beta, and the earnings per share. Beta is pretty cool. So it essentially looks at how much this stock is moving versus the market. So it's a great number to understand the risk of the asset. Alright, so now let's work on this section here, the daily portfolio change. Most of the figures in the dashboard tab are being connected to the currency converter because here's where everything changes whenever we change the currency. If we were to connect it to the portfolio tab, the currency would never change because we don't have any formulas that change these numbers. So I love the max and the min formulas because they look at the best and worst performers based on the portfolio list that we have. So now we're going to work on the portfolio balances section. So we're getting a few N.As here because we still haven't completed the currency converter in the transactions section. So we're going to do this right now actually. And then this title here, we're connecting it to the currency converter, to the actual currency that we're using. And then obviously this one's linked to the dashboard. There you go. Alright, so now we have that transaction section ready for the currency converter. We can go back and continue working on the dashboard. So a few of those formulas are still not working, and the reason for that is because I wrote down titles on the columns. So what we're going to do is go and add the titles to the columns. So here you see the transactions action. We should go into transactions, select column F, double click this and write transactions action. Hit enter. Now whenever you click this, it has the name transactions action. So now we're going to do the rest. So now that we added the column names for action and total converter, if we go to dashboard, we can see how the formulas for cash and realized gains, now they're working. I like these stats because they can tell us very useful things like how much in brokerage fees we've paid, how many cash deposits we've had, number of trades, the dates are for the CAGR, so compounded annual growth rate, which is super important, I think. And because we can add dividends to the transactions, we can figure out what our dividend income and yield is. Again, we're getting an error because we still need to add the name for these columns. So we're going to go to transactions date and name that column. This is a very interesting formula because it's essentially grabbing today's date and then comparing it to the first date of our first transaction and then figuring out what is the compounded annual growth rate that we get. We're going to scroll down and work on the platform breakdown. And that is it. We're done with the formulas. All we're missing now is the charts and the formatting of the tracker. So I'll be right back once everything is formatted. Okay, so I'm back and everything is formatted now. As you can see, all I changed was the colors of the titles, added a few borders, changed the size of some letters. I did add some conditional formatting to the transactions. And one last thing that I'm going to do is freeze the rows. And there it is. Now we're going to work on the charts. So we're going to click insert chart. We want a column chart. And for the data range, I'm going to delete this. We're going to go to currency converter and select from A2 to O. We're going to change the x-axis to ticker. And for the series, we're going to remove all of these and add the percentage gain or loss. I'm going to add a title. And there you go, we have the first chart. Alright, let's work now on the asset breakdown chart. We're going to use row 2 as headers. And we're going to click aggregate. We're going to change it to asset class. Alright, for the third chart, we want to see the cost versus the current value. What we're going to do is change the x-axis to the ticker. Now we're going to go to series. I'm going to remove them all first. Add the cost and then the current value. So we can compare the two of them. And I'm going to use column B as labels. We're going to aggregate this, use row 2 as headers. We're going to click the ticker as a label, and we want the current value. So we're just going to center it here. And we have actually a fifth chart. This is the final one. This is for the cash balances. It's a simple pie chart. And looks like we are done. Everything's fully automated and we're going to test it with a new transaction. Let's see if it works. 934. Yes, yes. The portfolio, we can see ASTR is there. And it should be in the dashboard as well. There it is. ASTR, ASTR, ASTR to the moon. And that is it. Yeah. Thank you so much. I hope this helped you, and stay tuned for future improvements because I'm going to continue improving this. This is Planet Finance. Thanks for joining me. Until next time, happy learning.